Today is a Valentine's Day. The whole world is celebrating this particular Valentine's Day, and there has been a euphoria around it, and especially the marketing community. So the people who are into sales of greetings, cakes, chocolates, all these things, they're busy. And across the globe, some millions of turnover is taking place on this particular day. In fact, I'm not going deep into the history of this particular Valentine's Day. So the history about Valentine's Day is not so encouraging. In fact, it is full of violence and cruelty. Whenever you get free time, go through Google and find it out. So what exactly is this particular Valentine's Day? So you will understand. On this occasion, today I am going to discuss a bit matured way of presentation. I'm going to give a matured way of presentation and a talk in which you are going to make a clear retrospection and introspection. Well, my dear friends, first of all, before we go any further, let us understand what exactly is love. So, how do we define love? You see, a deep and a tender feeling of affection or attachment or devotion to a person or persons, plural, a person or persons. So, a deep and tender feeling of affection. So, you see, this kind of feeling you can find between parents towards their kids, and the mother towards the daughter, mother towards the son. So in this particular nature, the whole nature is filled with love. For example, if you look at the outward world, the nature, the sun, it gives us the light and warmth. And in the same way, the wind, it gives us comfort. The rivers, they give us water. And everywhere in the nature, we can find the love. And it is a kind of deep and tender feeling of affection or for attachment or devotion to a person or persons. So it means what? In this whole process, you might have observed that the love is being extended without expecting anything in return. So that is a fundamental point we need to understand. So recently, a student asked me, Sir, why do we get misery in return to our love? Why do we get misery? That is a pain. Why do we get pain in return to our love? So, in this particular statement, we can observe that. So now it has been made into a merchandise. It has been made into a commodity or a product. So because of this particular, in this era of marketing and sales, love has also been made into a commodity. So precisely that is the reason. What I am trying to say is that if you observe this particular statement, you will realize we get misery not for the fact that we love. We get misery not for the fact that we love, but we get misery for the fact that we want love in return. So this particular statement gives all the kind of information. It means a while ago we discussed the nature. In the nature itself, we observe the sun gives the light, the rivers give us the water, the wind gives us the air. Everywhere in this particular nature, there is no expectation, and it is unconditional love only we can observe. When we apply the same principle, then there is no misery. When we expect something in return, when we expect something, I should get, I have given this, I should get something back, then the problem, then the pain, then the misery starts. So it should be unconditional. So this is one point. If we understand, then there will be no misery at all. These words are by Swami Vivekananda. Now, very important thing I would like to discuss, is love a feeling Is love an emotion? If you closely observe the media, if you closely observe and watch the movies, the literature, the books, the poetry, the songs, all these things everywhere, in all these things, we observe that they created a kind of hype around love. They created a kind of feeling that love is an emotional aspect. Love is related to heart. Love is a feeling. Honestly speaking, it's not so. Love is not a feeling. Love is not an emotion. Love is, in fact, always expressed in terms of action. So, since I am an English teacher, I can say this in language related word only. Love is not a feeling, love is not an emotion, love is a verb. Love is a verb. It means the love is always expressed in terms of action. So I repeat, you see, our literature, our movies, our songs give us the kind of impression that love is a feeling and love is an emotion. So there the problem starts. So in fact, most of the people, especially the youth who are under the impressionable age, who are not so clear, who did not get the right kind of direction, they are getting carried away by this particular messages, immature messages from the movies. So movies and the literature. Once they understand the concept that love is a verb, the love is always expressed in terms of action. Let us take a simple example. Most of the people, they express their love towards their parents, but their love is only expressed through lips only. Mom, I love you. Dad, I love you. That is what they say. But imagine a situation if they start showing their love in terms of action. For example, if a boy, a college going boy, if he wants to express his love towards his father, he can express his love in terms of action. It means that he can assist his father in cleaning the car. He can help his father in cleaning his bike or help him in bringing the vegetables. He can share the work. He can share the workload of his father towards the family. So now you see, there's once we start giving love in terms of action, once we start demonstrating love in terms of action, then both the giver and the taker are happy. So here the empathy plays an important role. Empathy means thinking in the angle of others, ability to think in the angle of others. So that is the starting point of the love. Whereas in this particular era of sales and marketing and merchandising and considering everything as a commodity or a product, the real problem started. I give something and I expect something in return. I give something and I want something to be given back to me. So this is the problem. So love should be unconditional, and love is always expressed in terms of action. So this kind of principle, once we start applying in our life, then our life is going to be filled with happiness. Now, in this connection, I need to tell you two words: happiness and the pleasure. Unfortunately, again, the entire media is focusing on the pleasure and pleasure related activities. So a pleasure is something is called conditional, whereas happiness is unconditional. So being happy with yourself, being happy with your thoughts, being happy with your being happy with your activities, and having clarity towards your goal and having clarity towards your life, that brings happiness. Happiness is unconditional. For example, if you observe a small infant who is in the cradle, infant of months old or days old, an infant who is in the cradle, she is sleeping, just observe. The infant smiles. The infant smiles. Her face is filled with happiness. So that is the true happiness I am talking about. So after getting what riches, the baby, the infant is smiling. after getting what kind of products or what kind of commodity, she is feeling happy. So that is the thing I am talking about. Happiness is always unconditional. No reason, no logic. So the true growth happens when we condition our mind to be in a happy state. Whereas pleasure is something when you are putting a condition, until and unless I purchase so and so brand car, I will not be comfortable. I will not feel comfortable. I will not get the happiness. So your happiness, you are linking it with some product. You are linking with some commodity. So there the pain, the misery is starting. So my dear friends, our aim should be Mr. Muthuvel. Sure, Mr. Muthuvel. They are already there in YouTube. I will send you the link. Well, so the target should be towards happiness and keeping our thoughts. Once we control our thoughts, we can control everything in the world. So true success happens with control, having control over our thoughts. So, because this is a special episode I am creating, especially for the people, for the youth who are sending plethora of mails. Sir, we got a failure in love. We got this particular pain or misery. So this is the reason I'm telling. So our thoughts should be focused towards happiness, unconditional happiness. So if I get something, then only I will feel comfortable. That thought itself is a problem. So same is the case applicable with love. So from your side, unconditionally express your love towards the people, towards. So to get love, first you need to be love. You need to be personification of love. Yesterday, in fact, I was listening to a speech by Sadhguru. So he was saying that only. In fact, unconditional love. So what are the parameters of true love? So it's an interesting point. Here you're going to get few interesting points. So first thought of the day, thinking throughout the day, the last thought before I sleep, and I'm dreaming of the person I love. So these are the stereotypes created by our literature and movies. You see, so usually the people who are in the tender age, who are in an immature state of mind, they get a kind of happiness, they get a kind of pleasure by allowing these kind of thoughts. Hey, the moment I get up early in the morning, I think of you only. And throughout the day, I think of you. And before I sleep, the last thought I get is about you. And throughout the dreams, I think about you. I am getting the dreams of you. You see, these kind of thoughts are poetic. They are not practical. So even if a person is trying to adapt this kind of thought process, ultimately he is spending his precious time. At the cost of his time, at the cost of his future, he is simply spending time in this kind of poetic thoughts. So that is not the true love. So in fact, love is always expressed in terms of action. So the love demands empathy. So think in terms of other person, thinks in the angle of the other person. So you need to develop the respect for other person. If you truly love some person, think in the angle of the other person and respect the other person and respect the limitations and respect the person's feelings and the choices. We should never pressurize the people, and being committed to help the other person unconditionally. So empathy, respect, and giving freedom to other person and respecting their freedom. These are the true parameters. These are the true parameters of true love. Once everyone starts thinking in this angle, then there is no misery in this world at all. So my dear friends, these are few thoughts which I thought of sharing with you on this particular Valentine's Day.